to make contact diplomatic, academic, or mercantile. Everyone knew that, just as everyone knew so many things which, when looked at closely enough, were never entirely true. On those maps, the ridge had been a pair of long, shallow curves with regimented lines drawn between them, like a stylized mouth with straight and even teeth. The imagination had been given nothing otherwise to go on, and year after year of students had left the college with the inbuilt idea that the world, or such of it as was worth learning about, somehow came to its northern limit by way of a cartographer's convention. Now she looked up and up, seeing the heavens cut in two. To the south was a sky swirling with grey cloud. To the north, ridged and corrugated, rose a great rough rock face that had weathered the spite of 1,000 years and then 1,000 more, that had cracked and split and had sloughed off whole fortress weights of its substance in places, but which remained the barrier keeping the lowlands and the Commonweal apart. Only the greatest of climbers could have attempted scaling it. Only a strong and confident flyer would trust his art to take him over it, penetrating the foul weather that traditionally boiled and clawed over the land's division. To her back lay the northernmost extent of a tangled forest that housed 2 mantis holds, and too many secrets. The airship that had brought her this far had sailed high to cross it, far higher than weather or hostile natives might otherwise account for. Its pilot, Johns Allenbridge, had simply shrugged when queried. "I don't like the place," was all he would say on the subject, while beneath them the dark sea of trees remained almost lost in mist and distance. "Now sand's behind us, I'll not make landfall before the hitch." Seeing her expression, he had scowled. "Who owes you for this, girl? You are in no position to ask any cursed more of me. Got that?" Which was true enough, Tynisa had to concede. The knotted, clenched feeling inside her had twitched at being balked in such a way, but she held on to it, fought it down. Her hand stayed clear of her sword hilt, and it, in turn, stayed clear of her hand in a tenuous pact of mutual non-aggression. It had been cold in the upper reaches of the air, but she had planned ahead for that, remembering their journey together to Tharn. She had packed cloaks and woolens, and still she shivered, crouching close to the airship's burner while Allenbridge bustled about her. That voyage to Tharn had been in his old ship, the Buoyant Maiden, and Allenbridge's status as a war veteran had proved currency enough to finance his trading the Maiden for this much grander vessel. She had the impression that he was finding the craft difficult to run single-handed, not that she would have been able to help him, even had he asked. He called this new vessel the Windless, which Tynisa thought reflected a lack of imagination on his part, but then he was her benefactor, and she the one who had so unfairly imposed herself on his conscience, and so she had said nothing. They had been aloft many days now, with Allenbridge stoically rewinding the Windlass's clockwork engine each day. He cooked their meagre meals and did incomprehensible things to the airship's mechanisms in response to changes in the Windlass's handling, which Tynisa was unable to perceive. He was not one for conversation, so their days together passed in silence. She slept in the hold, while he had the single cramped cabin that was the benefit of having acquired a larger airship than the Little Maiden. This lack of talk, of any meaningful human contact, suited her very well. Sometimes she had company other than Allenbridge, or at least her eyes twisted the world to make it seem that way. From the corner of her eye she would see a slender, grey-robed figure hunched at the rail, his posture twisted as if racked by illness, and she would think, "He always did hate travel, but